Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Association of Into Dogs. Today, we are joined by the one and only Dr. Hannah Capon, who I'd say after the past 12 years of canine arthritis management, everybody should know who you are. But anyway, Hannah is a canine arthritis specialist, and we absolutely love her
Allowed
work.
to use that term yet. Then we were just
You
before we
didn't
went
hear
live.
that term. I'm going
No,
to say she's a
well,
specialist.
we went before we went live. We were talking about terminology. Specialist is only a European or American diploma holder. I'm not
Very
even
true.
allowed to call myself an expert, and I'm actually proud not to call myself an expert. I'm quite happy calling myself just a vet that gives a shit. So yeah, there you
That's,
go. I'm
yeah,
just a vet that gives a shit about
perfect.
arthritis. That's my level of qualification.
Well, that's a good level to have. You have a lot more level of education than most of us here. We're none of us are vets, so we can't claim to that. Now, is my mic? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Brilliant. It keeps falling down, so fade off into the distance. So listen, the one thing we always talk about is my dog has arthritis. What do I do now? And obviously, we go to the vet. We put on supplements. We do shop. We do whatever is needed. But the one thing that's greatly overlooked, I feel, is greatly overlooked, and I from personal experience, didn't realize until I was in that position myself, where I had a young dog who was diagnosed at a very young age with a lot of osteo issues. Um, and I start making changes around the house. And all the dogs I've had since him, now he's 12 now, so all the dogs I've had over the last 12 years have benefited greatly from all the modifications I've made in the house. And I'm thinking that, if I hadn't had him, I probably wouldn't have been so quick to be putting rugs everywhere, putting rubber flooring, putting ramps. Like we have big ramps at the front door and the back door, and we have beds, different types of beds everywhere. It's kind of controlled choice for them. We control where the beds go, but they can move around. They have comfort, but we're also because the downstairs is wooden and ceramic tile, the usual in houses nowadays we've adapted so the dogs can walk comfortably without sliding, without tensing or anything like that. All upstairs is carpeted. Obviously, he can't get up the stairs, so that's not an issue. But what are the little things that people should be aware of? Obviously, floors, but what are the little things that people can do from raising a bowl, from choosing particular toys, things like that, that people can put in place from the moment their dog arrives in their house, be it a puppy, an adult dog, or a senior dog.
I think I'd like to rewind back a little bit
Mhm.
before kind of just listing because that's quite boring, isn't it? Just a list. So let's kind of like look at the situation that we're in. If we're talking about dogs that have been diagnosed with osteoarthritis, what does that mean? And most people will kind of focus down and go, well, they've got pain in their joints and the joints aren't, working as well. Well, it's bigger than that. It's way bigger than that. We know that dogs with osteoarthritis, the condition very quickly, without us really knowing, is progressing. And it's progressing, so it's affecting their body and mind because persistent pain, no matter where it comes from, affects us physiologically, physically, emotionally, and cognitively. And I think we need to step back and start thinking about that before we start talking about house adaptations, because otherwise it doesn't have the value. We need to understand why we're doing this. So let's talk about a dog that's got osteoarthritis. Unfortunately, because dogs are amazing, they have got on with life for quite a long time. The caregiver's not really been aware that they've got a problem because they've shifted their body weight. They've just cracked on with life. So by the time that the caregiver notices something's wrong, it's quite obvious. And there's a really famous vet called Dr. Chris Sink that says that you're not going to see pain in dogs until it's 7 out of 10 bad. So these dogs have been carrying discomfort for a period of time. So if you're carrying discomfort, if your pain signaling system is beavering away, you're likely to have a greater pain experience than the original disease, what's called an amplified nervous system. So that means any additional trauma from a slip, a trip, a fall is going to be profound to that animal. It's not going to be just a slip. It's going to be quite, as I say, profound pain experience. But they're also going to have all the compensatory changes that have taken place to allow them to get on living that life, because they don't know the NHS exists. They don't know that somebody's going to do something about their pain. So they've adapted their posture, they've changed the way that they've moved. And you can do that for a period of time. Your body's incredible. You know, we've got so many areas of resilience. We can cope with things for a period of time, but eventually it tends to have a knock-on effect. So we'll end up having dysfunction and pain elsewhere. So hip pain will end up being back pain, which will end up being forequarter pain, which will end up being maybe elbow pain, would be neck pain. So you've got a dog that's not just painful in their joint, they're painful in other areas. So those areas have got less room to slip, trip, and fall without also generating discomfort. So it might not be that their hip pain is exacerbated by that slip on the floor. It's going to be their back and their neck and their shoulders. So we've got to remember that as well. But if something's painful to use, then you're going to use it less. And if you use it less, it gets weaker. So those hips, yes, they are painful, but they're also weaker. So they're not going to be able to cope with those minor slips. Those minor slips are going to be mega slips. So these are going to be more catastrophic injuries. So we've got to remember that as well. But we also need to remember that living in pain affects the way we think, the way we feel, who we are, you know. And if you're in an environment that you've had repeated slips, trips, and traumas, you're going to be blinking anxious, aren't you? When's it going to hurt next? And the last time I walked across that floor, I did those steps, that hurts. It's the steps' fault or the floor's fault. And I'm not going to go there again, or, you know, don't make me go there again, or I'm going to be really, really tense when I go there again. And if you're tense and you slip, then that's really, really painful, isn't it? So I think it's really worth seeing it from their perspective, because these aren't just, oh, put down a rug. This is a game changer for that individual. So through understanding what it's like to have OA and the mechanisms that progress, then I think it gives people more incentive to put these things in place. And I say this because I have numerous conversations with caregivers about covering their £3,000 parquet flooring with rugs. And they're like, no, it's £3,000 floor I just put in there. You're like, well, let me explain why this is
And
important.
I'm thinking vet bills cost more than that if you don't. So,
Exactly. But I think as soon as you take time to actually say, let's just talk about what OA is and how it's progressed, and therefore that little slip isn't a little slip. That's quite a mega incident for that individual. And that will really get them on board and understanding why these are important. And then hopefully that's the catalyst to them feeling that they've got a role to play in that care plan. Because when you're the caregiver of an osteoarthritic dog, you can suddenly feel like you've lost all control. You know, you're reliant on the vet who's talking medical jargon that you don't understand, who's giving you pills, potions, and suggesting surgeries. You don't really feel like you've got any role in that. You're just being told what to do. But I've found that when I've got the caregivers on board about lifestyle management, exercise management, weight management, all of these things, that feeling of I'm doing something, right, gives them that control back. It gives them part of the plan. It makes their bond with their dog feel like they are their caregiver, their advocate. So I think it's much more than listing, if I'm really, really honest. So let's park the OA dog because that's quite obvious. But then now let's drip ourselves in towards the younger dog, the dog with no problem. Truth is, that's really unlikely. You know, the figures that are out now is bloody terrifying, in that studies out from America where they took 123 dogs, mixed breeds between the ages of 8 months and 4 years old. They weren't meant to have a problem. They were just from the public, 8 months, 4 years old, come in. We will pay for your dog to have a full clinical assessment and every joint radiographed on us. Just come in. And what they found is 40% of those dogs already had arthritis in at least one joint, 8 months to 4 years old. And of them, 24% had pain associated with the joint. So when the joint was put for a range of motion, the dog pulled back and was like, that's not very nice. And 16% of them had moderate pain. So when they manipulated that arthritic joint, the dog was like, no, don't do that. That really actually hurts. That's phenomenally scary, isn't it? So of that 40% that have OA, how many caregivers thought that there was something wrong? About 30% thought something wasn't quite right, but only 7% were doing anything about it. So when you look at those figures, you're like, geez, so what's the likelihood of our young dogs not having a reason for us to modify the environment? It's pretty low. And going back to what I just said, they're incredible for getting on with life. They're incredible for just taking every day as it comes and living life. They're not going to go, elbow hurts today. So there's a real incentive to think about, what do we see as pet friendly? I kind of hate that word now, because you'll go to an Airbnb and they'll say it's pet friendly. No, it bloody isn't. It's got easy clean floors, hasn't it? It's not pet friendly. It's friendly to us to clean up after our pet, is what it should say. So when we're kind of looking at the environments in which I feel all dogs should live, knowing that they've got these predispositions to not only emotional concerns, but physical concerns, we're inviting them to live with us. We're inviting them to come into our world. And I think we should be putting these plans in place to make sure that they can navigate these home environments, these safe environments, without the risk of injury. And flooring, thinking about stairs, thinking about bowls, thinking about steps, thresholds, thinking about steps in the garden, steps up to the house, getting in and out, all these sorts of things might seem minor, but when you think about it like that, they're major. You wouldn't take a young child and say, you're going to grow up on an ice rink. How do you feel about that? Yes, we just wouldn't do it. So for me, I'm over the years have become much more inclined to say, bring back carpets, bring back the 70s. God, they were so much better for our pets.
That white dog poo. Yeah, we just on that caregivers doing something about and not knowing when the dog's in pain. It's interesting. I've had quite a few clients that, one in particular I can remember is going over, they only wanted me to go and do some loose lead work. That was it. But within seconds, I'm saying this dog, he's not comfortable. He's a bit discomforted. Only a young boy, cane corso. Mm-hmm. And they went to the vet and they said, oh, since behaviourist and blah, blah, and he said that looks a bit uncomfortable. And they didn't really check the dog. They just gave her some Metacam for a week. So then I said to them, go back and insist. And it took them, I think, 2.5, 3 months to get something done about it from the vets. And he had elbow, hip and neck problems. Mm. So how does the general public, who, let's face it, you're the same as us, when you know what to look for, you can't help but see it. And no matter what you're going to go and do, you could be walking in the local park and go, oh, that dog's not very comfortable. Now, of course, we can't keep going up to people and go, your dog's not very well. So it's taken us a long, long time to get that second sense, if you like, that we know the dog's not right. How on earth does a member of the Joe public kind of go to a vet and go, look at this? And again, this behaviourist has said, not a vet has said. How do we break that barrier?
I think I've got a kind of solution. It will never work in every case, but I've been working on this for a long time, because back way when 2015, when I became interested, it's been the same conversation for the last 10 years, where you've got the allied professionals seeing things and it's not getting to the vet in charge of the case. And let's be really honest, it's a tendency to lay blame, but we've got to stop doing that, and we've got to actually look at the process and see how we can actually streamline it and make it more effective. So I was at a conference many, many years ago, and two lovely groomers beelined me and cornered me in this room, said, we see dogs in pain all the time. We tell the caregiver to go back to the vet, that there's a problem. The caregiver goes to the vet, says there's a problem. The vet doesn't find anything, nothing changes. What was that communication pathway like? Now, if I'm in the vet clinic, I'm already running 5 minutes behind. I've already seen 20 people. I've got another 10 people waiting. Receptionist is in a bad mood with me. My nurses are in a bad mood with me. I've got surgery to go and do, and I've got 4 blood reports. And you have somebody come in who says, my groomer says there's something wrong with my dog. Where do you want me to start looking, So I feel really strongly that we've got to work much more as an interdisciplinary team and provide our observations in a format that vet can go, I see what you mean. So that's why we created the suspicion of chronic pain document. So it's a download, it's an A4 piece of paper, and it basically consists of a cross, 4 circles with dotted lines underneath each 4 circle. So the 4 circles are behavior change, posture change, physical change, capability and gait change. And it gives the observer, be it you, the caregiver or the allied professional, the opportunity to say, this is what I've seen. And in the center of the cross, it says chronic pain. So if you take that to the vet, who's got 30, 45 seconds to try and get that information, they're going to go, oh, got a number of behaviors that have changed recently, or they've been noted. some physical changes, some mobility changes. There's quite a lot of information stacking up. There's a problem here. That gives me an amazing head start to know what I'm supposed to now go and do. But the other thing from a vet perspective is when we prescribe or we suggest, we've got to have a good weight of evidence to do it. Because A, we've got a moral code that we do no harm. And also we've got to deal with that caregiver's budgets. And we're not just talking about financial, we're talking about their emotional budget as well. So say that Ken Koso came in and the dog in the clinic was behaving totally normally. No hint of a problem. The caregiver's kind of like, yeah, he said something's wrong, but I haven't seen anything wrong myself. We've got to decide what to do with those two kind of obstacles. If we prescribe an anti-inflammatory and that dog gets diarrhea and that caregiver never thought that there was a problem anyway, but now they've spent 120 quid and their dog's got the shits and they've got to come back, that's not going to go down very well. So if that vet then goes, actually, I'd like to sign you up for £1,000 worth of radiographs, and the caregiver's going, I didn't think there was a problem, so you want me to do what? So we've got to look at the communication better. And I don't think anybody's doing anything wrong. I really don't think that it's their fault or their fault. I think it's about us going, we all admit that there's a problem here. How can we streamline that effective communication? So that's what we've been trying to do. And we'd like to think over the last 10 years, CAM has kept their nose squeaky clean. We've tried to make sure that we are the advocate for all involved in chronic pain care for our bloody lovely canine friends. That if you were to use something with the canine arthritis management branding, it's legitimate. It's not going to be, oh, here we go, it's another bloody report. It's condensed, it's concise, it's to the point. You can read it quickly. So we're hoping that using the tools that we've created will give the behaviourists, the trainers, the other allied professionals that leg up so that what they observe are taken seriously. And it's a horrible thing to say, but if I get a report and it pops up, so let's I'm in a small room, no windows, UV light. As I say, I'm stressed out because it's been a shit day. And I've got a caregiver literally coming to the door, and I'm supposed to go through the practice software to find a referral report that was sent a week ago that might have been uploaded, not uploaded. And in that report is a tome of observations in text. And I'm like, what do you want from me? So we've got to just really start thinking about how we communicate better with each other, haven't we? God, I'm so ranty today.
No, it's all about that. I was actually just talking to my own vet about that because, well, Mark and myself hear it a lot with our behaviorists who are struggling to communicate with vets because vets don't have the time for volumes of text, obviously. And yeah, as you say, we have to all communicate better. I mean, groomers are going to be very familiar with your dog. If they notice something, yeah, we should be listening and taking that on board. Even your dog walker can notice something might be off with your dog. So it is a case of everybody working together. And the one thing I have to say to you, like, you don't just supply loads of amazing information and charts and things on your thing. You also have a shop that has some great stuff.
Don't talk to me about the shop.
I got the sleeve, the fluorescent sleeve.
Yes.
That has been a miracle worker. It's been such a godsend because it's this visual thing that people
Please tell me you're buying it because somebody isn't.
I have it. I have it. I have it. I got it a couple of years back and
Good.
I absolutely loved it. The one thing I will say, because over here, guide dogs have the same color, and we used to, when I was with guide dogs, we used to have this little fluorescent sash you put on the lead. So a lot of people are already thinking, oh, it must be a guide dog.
Yeah.
That's fine because they know not to go near it anyway.
Yeah.
Because I find, like, with a lot of those things, with writing on it, by the time the people are close enough to read what it's too late. But with that sash, for some reason, that has been the best deterrent because people make a beeline. I just put my hand up, point at the sash, and they just go, okay, and they walk away.
Yeah.
And
I
the
think we
dog
need
is
to
so
explain what we're
relaxed.
talking about here. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about, but I should
the
imagine listeners are
leash
going,
what is
what's
she
she
on?
talking about? Okay. So
It's a
when
cover.
looking, yeah, but okay, let's step back again. When looking after a dog with chronic pain, they are what I say emotionally and physically vulnerable. So if they were out and somebody bumped into them or a dog ran at them, then they're vulnerable. So therefore, they're likely to have quite defensive, aversive behaviors, or they might actually get hurt.
Yeah.
So a young dog running at them in a park. And when you look at this concept of multimodal management of OA, you've got to think about these things a bit like the home environment. There's also that external environment. So we started producing bibs, bandanas, anything that that caregiver could use to say, hey, look, just be aware, I'm not being a bitch when I tell you to take your dog away. There's a reason. So we ended up having it all printed out and put in the shop. And the reason, like, I jumped out my chair going, the bloody shop, is because I can't tell you how many hours have gone into trying to keep that afloat. But because we're not having purchases, it's just impossible to sustain it.
Well, I did find out of all the things with writing on it, the sash is the best deterrent because it can be seen from a distance. And as I say, a lot of people in their mind associated with, oh, maybe that's a guide dog, which means don't go near the guide dog.
Yeah.
And then by the time they're close enough to actually read it, there's still a respectable distance to not slam into the dog or not approach. Because I know I joke and call one of my guys Reacto because, as you just said, he's going to get defensive if something is coming at him and he's in pain.
Yeah.
And
But
then
also the caregiver.
Jesus, yeah, I'm terrified of getting slammed after my leg injury.
Well, no, one of the things that we found from running Holly's Army for 10 years is that the emotional pressure placed on the caregiver is phenomenal. And I don't run Holly's Army. I have a team that do it for me now. But for 5 years, I was the person kind of supervising the platform, and people were absolutely emptying their hearts out at how they were done. They were emotionally, physically, and financially broken. And having somebody retaliate with them at the park. So say somebody they had their dog run at their dog, and they would say, please don't, I'm worried about my dog. And if that other caregiver, that other dog walker went, oh, just shut up, that would just be the worst start to the day for them. They were like, I'm already struggling emotionally. Yeah. So we created all of these kind of resources to try and maintain both emotional states of dog and caregiver. So yeah, they are available. Please bloody buy them.
It's just a little sash you slip over your leash. It clips
Oh,
on.
this has been a journey for 10
It's like
years. I
18
look
inches
back and I
long
go,
or something.
what?
You can't miss it. It's brilliant. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
You're right. It is emotionally draining for the caregiver as well because you don't want to don't come near me. My dog is not well. No, my dog is going to bark at you. My dog is, it's just, you're constantly on guard. You just want your dog to have a peaceful walk because all dogs are entitled to a peaceful walk. Yeah. It's their walk. But then you have these lunatic pups who are just being puppies. They're just being dogs.
It's again about communication. And I think, so I started off doing camp thinking that I was going to just be a vet that was really focused on joint disease and the pain system, so that was going to be, I was going to become amazing at it. And I've, over the last 10 years, found myself drifting into the bigger picture, the social aspect of having a dog with OA, or choosing a dog that's likely to get OA, or having a dog that through lifestyle choices such as weight and the activities getting OA. So I've become really focused on this kind of social overview of managing OA because it's so prevalent. And part of that is communication. And if you deep dive into all of the problems that we currently have, you will find there's a huge element of communication that is not effective, be it between the different disciplines, between the caregiver and the vet, between the caregiver and the dog. Communication just keeps coming up as a really big problem.
Well, the one thing I find is that once we are aware as caregivers there are things we can do to help and make it easier within the home. Um, Even something as simple as getting a ramp for the car, because dogs really should not be jumping in and out of cars, especially some of the larger cars. That height, the impact on those elbows when they come down. People don't think about that.
Well, the thing is to be fair to them, dogs are extremely agile and capable. And the
Yeah,
problem is that we just don't realize the prevalence of vulnerability. And, also, I'm going to go on a tangent here. Think about our social learning. We're going to cover a couple of topics that people are going to go, oh, yeah. How many adverts for cars will have a dog jumping out of the boot? And it's on TV and they're in the
yeah.
magazines. So you just normalize it. You wouldn't think otherwise. How normal is it now for us to associate dogs with a bone? Yeah? Dogs with a ball. Every children's book, every cartoon, it's kind of like they've been joined together as if they have to always live together.
Actually,
And
I
I,
think it was Top Gear was reviewing a car. I'm not going to say the car brand because I don't want to encourage people. And they said, this is brilliant. If you live in a country estate, you can fit 4 Labradors in the boot. And they open the back and 4 big labs jump. No crates, no steps, nothing. It's
I
like,
know.
oh my God, it was a free
So
for all in
again,
the back.
for our beloved caregivers that they've got a dog and they've been learning from the social kind of presentation around them. No wonder that they don't realize these things could have an impact. So
Yeah, well,
Is
anyway,
that's
there
just it. I
danger?
mean, we don't expect them to know everything.
no.
They do
Is
their
there,
best.
is there a danger of I don't mean. Is there a danger of people sort of overdoing things as far as
Mm.
wrapping the dog up so much that they can't
Yeah,
then be a
Cotton
dog?
wool type.
yeah,
I know with my younger boy, I've got a Land Rover, and he can clear. If I open the top part, he clears that. He'll
yeah.
jump in quite. I mean, he's only about 2, so I know he can do it. I know he shouldn't, but I know he can do it. But I don't want to stop him because he's still a young dog.
It's again like, okay, this is where it goes into the world of grey, and everything that we do in life is grey. There's no definitive answer for anything. There's always that contextual understanding. So it's always about moderation, isn't it? But the problem is, what is moderation when you're trying to instruct a caregiver? So the occasional ball throw, occasional jump out of the car, occasional, slippery floor. It's the fact that when it's persistent and consistent, I think that we have to be mindful. And it's also having the noddle to keep checking in. Is it still okay? And I agree with you, like a real confession. I nearly bailed on Cam many years back, probably about 2017. And I was like, I'm making caregivers' lives harder because I'm exposing them to all the things that they could and should do. And they're now becoming emotionally absolutely affected. It's so draining, this multimodal approach. Would it be better to just not say anything and carry on as we were? When you kind of sit there going, God, that's a really horrible thought. But I think it's again back to communication, isn't it? It's about meeting in the middle with caregivers and saying, well, look, this is the evidence, this is the suggestion, this is the clinical reasoning why I would refrain from doing that, modify doing that. And, hoping that over time, their behavior will start to follow suit. Human behavior change is just fascinating because we're so ingrained in the way that we do things. We hate to change our routines. We
Change is
hate
so hard.
somebody. Well, no, but we hate people challenging our beliefs. We hate people
Yeah.
suggesting that we could do things better. So, if you were to come in and go, you need to change this, and this, most people go, no. And they will find any reason to justify not doing it.
Well, I think you nailed it earlier when you said it's down to moderation. Because how many people I know, like when I was working with assistance dogs and things, even puppy walking or fundraising, they had to go into supermarkets and shopping centers, slippy floors, bright lights,
Mm.
all this type of stuff. That's in moderation because they don't have to be exposed to that at home. So I can do what I can at home because I'm anticipating the poor things are going out on, as you say, an ice rink later on. So I think again, communication, when we break it down properly, is like if you do this now, it'll help buffer what's ahead. Because
Yeah.
nobody wants to be told, well, you can't bring the dog to that pub because the floor is slippy.
Yeah, no, it
No.
is very much like that. And my vision for the future, is that well, it's what I've been hoping to do for the last 10 years, is to push chronic pain of musculoskeletal origin into quite a prominent position of importance, that actually more time will be spent on it with the caregiver by the professionals that surround them. So, be it the veterinary professionals, vet nursing professionals, the allied professionals, so that we have time to have these conversations rather than trying to distill it down into a very succinct, almost automated conversation. It's important. And it's important that we have time navigating with the caregiver to make a plan that suits them, that they're going to stick to over the long term. Unfortunately, what's happening with society, and here's me going on a tangent and a rant again, what with AI and what with efficiency and what with digital, everybody seems to be striving to create these automated services that can be there educating our caregivers at minimal costs, maximal gain, maximal efficiency, but they're not contextualized. They're just lists, aren't they? So for me, and that brings me on to talk about the pain vet, nice little segue into that, is that the pain vet was going to be called the pain coach, because quite often what we're talking about isn't anything mind-blowingly unique, and it's not that we're bringing in therapies that no one's ever heard of. It's actually having time to formulate a plan that works with that dog, that caregiver, their budgets, financial, time, emotional. So I would like to think that we can continue collectively to drive the importance of pain management, step away from trying to create these short, succinct, automated messaging of "that's what you do, me dog," and we like grow it into an awesome discipline where we allow ourselves to give these caregivers more time. That was a real long-winded rant, but
No, but it's great because you have all these resources. And for anybody listening, we are going to list them all in the comment section. We're going to put up all the links, including the shop that Hannah
bloody
loves,
shop.
the shop that Hannah loves. So, I mean, there's so many great things on that shop that just spend time, go through, look, and
Can I explain what are the shops about so people just don't
yeah,
think that I've just. So basically, I have wanted to always create a service that works with everybody. I don't want to be stepping on other people's toes. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And I want to basically serve the caregiver who quite often arrive with a dog with OA or chronic pain, musculoskeletal origin. They have no idea what to buy, for who from, when to buy it, what's good quality, what's not. So we wanted to bring together a shop where canine professionals, veterinary professionals could say, look, I haven't got time, but I would send you to this shop because they do take the time to look at really good resources. So I know that you're not going to buy from Temu or Amazon and it's going to fall apart or cut in or be the wrong size. So we strive to do that. And what I really wanted at the beginning was that somebody could arrive in the shop and they could say, what's the name of your dog? What's the age of your dog? What's the breed of your dog? What's the size of your dog? What are your dog's clinical signs? Do they drag their toes? Do they have difficulty rising? Do they have difficulty getting comfortable? And then it would have a personalized shopper that would go, I would encourage you to look here, here, and here. Because many people arrive in a shop and go, I want to buy a harness. And that dog, yeah, he's got a great harness, but there's still slippery floors. He's still got an uncomfortable bed. He's still struggling. So I wanted to have the ability to go, look, I'm going to look after you. I'm going to tailor you a shopping list for what I feel that you need. That takes a lot of bloody money. So we've been doing it stepwise. We started off with products, then we put a video description from me explaining why different sections are important and what to look for. But it's a slow burner. Online marketing and sales is just phenomenally difficult because of the big players. People go where it's cheaper. So
yeah.
Well, you're on my form that I send out. So if I see a client and I think there's something going on, I'll always put a link to you guys anyway, just to sort of say, look, go and check this out.
Well, we've both done your courses.
I looked on it quite a lot with my last old girl because she had suspected CDRM, and ended up in a wheelchair for a year and a bit. But she absolutely adored the wheelchair, so I learned an awful lot about how to condition and how to help her learn how to corner and things like that.
She was hilarious. The
She
moment,
loved
like,
it.
the videos were hilarious. She was in it. She's standing there. She's standing there. Next off, she's in the chair. She's gone.
Yeah.
That was it. So much
Dogs
fun.
are amazing.
Yeah.
Dogs are amazing. Just on that note, there's a new course coming out. It's taken over a year to bring together. It's me and a dear colleague of mine called Siobhan Menzies, who has been working in veterinary rehab for about 20, 25 years now. And we realised that a lot of people don't really understand where all the different rehab modalities fit with regards to osteoarthritis management, that people just go see a hydrotherapist or get massage or do laser. And a lot of people don't really know what to use and when. So we've brought together a course, and it was supposed to be 10 modules, and it's now 27.
Wow.
It's freaking huge. And I've just actually had a brief review, and the team it's just phenomenal. It looks amazing. So that's being released in December. And it's aimed at the professionals, be you veterinary or allied, that want to understand more, but they don't necessarily want to do it. So it's not a course that's going to teach you about how to use laser in each individual case and where to place the laser and what the settings to be. But it is going to give you a much greater understanding of what is appropriate and when and why. So that launches in December.
Cool.
Brilliant. And this is the 1st of December.
Oh, then it'll be some point in December. But then I'm going to talk about chronic pain symposium, because this is probably my latest baby. This is what I feel the whole animal profession sector need is, let's be together to work together. And for 10, 12 years now, I've had people snipping and sniping and bitching and complaining about different colleagues in the same discipline or colleagues in different disciplines. And I was like, this has got to stop. This has got to stop. We've all got to start learning together, really.
It's like Fight Club. It's always been like Fight Club.
Like Fight Club. It's just like... So anyway, the Chronic Pain Symposium, we've had it 2 years now. It's back in 2026. And it's a place where the allied professionals and the veterinary professionals learn together. And that's what's really important. Learn from the same experts in their field. These are the specialists. These are people that have done the research. So it's straight from the horse's mouth. It's not gone through the mill of someone else's and somebody else's and somebody else's interpretation. So the Chronic Pain Symposium, April the 24th to the 26th. And I would invite all of your listeners to come learn.
Definitely. If you can shoot us over a link for that, we'll get that one up as well.
Yes,
absolutely.
What I do find helpful, if there is a case like that, I use Kate from the Organic Dog Company, who's a canine physiotherapist. Because what I find is, if we've got a staff that we're working with, gorgeous little boy, but he's got some things going on, but she can give the caregiver the specifics, the medical jargon that I won't know.
Yeah.
So she'll kind of go, well, it's XYZJ4 or whatever it is, and then the vets have got a very succinct, a very clear look at this bit. And that's quite nice to have. So that might be another way forward for caregivers to look at as well, which is another entry point in. Because if they go to a vet and say, my physiotherapist has said this, maybe then it's a bit clearer.
So that's a fishy zone. Is there such a thing as a fishy zone? But then there's a complex zone.
We go back to the 70s.
Oh yeah, back to the 70s. So a physiotherapist, according to the Royal College, cannot examine an animal that has a health complaint until they've got veterinary consent.
Yeah.
So what should happen, according to the rules, is that vet should be approached by the physiotherapist. Can I please examine and treat this animal? And generally that means that the vet's got to have seen the animal to go, yes, that animal needs. So it's all very complex. So another reason that we created the Pain Vet, which is run by vets, is that once you've booked an appointment, the caregiver sends in photos, videos, fill in a questionnaire, clinical metrology instrument, and we have their clinical history from the vets. And we analyze videos, photos, go through all of this huge amounts of time, and we create a report for the vet. So basically, we do all of the legwork, have the conversations, share the resources. So that vet, when receiving the report, goes, oh, right, yes. So we have got an adaptive gait, we have got offloading, we have got overdevelopment, underdevelopment, we have got behavior change. I get it. Right. Yeah, I'm on board with this. Let's crack on. So that was one of the alternatives. We're trying to make sure that that gap, which is a big gap, gets bridged efficiently.
Cool. I'm very conscious of the time, and it's rumbling forward. I'm assuming you want to get a cup of tea before your next meeting. So
I have back-to-back meetings, but no, it's lovely talking to you guys, and I think I'm always open to people saying, do you know what, this is missing, or that's missing, or this is something that, you know, I think everybody would benefit from. And it's not, sometimes people will be like, oh God, you like narcissist, it's all about Cam. I'm like, no, there's a lot of clever psychology in that. If you can have a brand where people have confidence, if it's labeled with that brand, it's going to have more weight of effect. So what we're trying to do is create that stable place where the materials being used, whoever receives them goes, okay, I get it. I like this organization. I get where they're coming from.
There is a product on the market at the moment that not only carries our brand, the Association of Into Dogs, as an approved product we love, but it also carries your brand.
What's that?
Pickpockets.
Oh, I love pickpockets.
I know.
I've got loads of
Jeffy.
them. I've got a set
I have one
that
of
I've had
everything.
since about 2018. Went all around Morocco with me for a year. When I came back,
they're all beside me here.
Yeah, she's done a Cam branded set. It's got spaceships on it.
I know, I saw it. I love the camo sets. I have a lot of camo sets, and we will be doing something in the run up to Christmas, because we have gotten our paws in a couple of sets. So Into Dogs will be sorting out something for anybody interested in getting on board something that is actually not only approved by us, but also approved by Canine Arthritis Management.
Love
because
them.
It is genius. So
it is. It's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time. Please, anybody that's interested in, you know, solving the problems and making sure that our caregivers who are in need of support can transition between the different elements involved in that.
Holly's Army is on Facebook, and that has major support. I am a member. I know I'm a member, and I've seen some of the posts, and I've seen these lovely responses to the posts, which is quite unusual for a lot of Facebook groups.
It's very heavily policed, and it takes a lot of time. We have a group of ambassadors, so we are actually actively recruiting at the moment. And these are individuals that are willing to give some of their time to make sure that the place stays safe and informative. There is no bad mouthing. There is no promotion of products and blah, blah. It's proper, genuine care, and it takes a hell of a lot of manpower. But if you've got an interest in chronic pain, you want to learn from people that are so experienced, develop your skills of working appropriately online, then we are recruiting currently.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Sorry for swearing.
Yeah, stop that. Right. we'll say goodbye, and I'll stop the
just there.
So thank you very much.